Hey everyone, this is Landon again with BreakTurn with Adam Andres, and this is continuing our video series on trying to educate folks on just the whole transition and skill bridges and all of that. This episode is about flight training. A lot of our candidates are using SkillBridge benefits to go get some flight training. I know I did, and I know you did, yep. Adam. So we're going to ask a couple questions here. Adam's pretty smart on this stuff. So what do you see? Are you seeing a lot of your candidates want to go to flight school? What does that mean? Is that hard? Do we have partners? Like, can you even do that? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely, Landon. So we see, honestly, at least a third of our candidates at least pursuing some sort of flight training right now. So that's a very large chunk, and sometimes different months it may be well over 50% that are pursuing flight training. So a lot of folks are doing this. A lot of folks can do this. You can absolutely do this, and I think we're going to talk some details on some different avenues of approach that you can take to get this done.
So when you say you can do this, a question I get a lot is, do I have to be a military aviator? Do I have to be a military fixed-wing aviator? That's the first question, and then do a transition. Can I be a rotor guy or girl? Or I have no military ratings, but I was in the military. Can any of those people go to use SkillBridge to do flight training?
Yeah, that's a great question, Landon. We love to maximize your SkillBridge opportunity here. So depending on which category you fall in within there, all of those service members are eligible, regardless of branch, regardless of any previous experience. If you want to be a pilot, we can get you on that path.
So if I'm an E2A, Adam, and that program isn't within 6 months, does that mean I can't do it because I'm not going to finish that program?
No, not at all. So E2A, for those of you that don't know, is a term that was coined a while ago. Enlisted to airlines is what that stands for. But you can probably take the A out of that nowadays too, because you don't actually have to go to the airlines to be successful. A lot of people see that as the end goal, and it's a great goal to try to achieve. But there's plenty of other opportunities out there for professional aviators to truly succeed and thrive in this industry. So no, I guess is the answer that you can. Or is yes and no, but you can do any of these. There's a lot of options here, and you can start from scratch. You can start with no flight experience.
We can take the E out of it too. I had a guy the other day. Yeah. He's I think a chemical officer. He wanted to go through some flight training, but yeah, the point being is, can you get through the full program while on your SkillBridge time, right? And SkillBridge at the end of the day is a piece of paper. It's like leave. Okay, that's the lose the romantic part of it. No, but that's fine. We can get you well into that training program while receiving all your military pay and benefits, aka insurance, etc., before you drop off the DoD system, and then you're on your own, right? So we can get you well into that. So yeah,
the one thing I want to highlight there. So the key provision within the DoD framework is that you are building towards meaningful post-service employment. So with the 180-day framework is DoD-wide. We recognize that there's some branch-specific restrictions there and rank-specific restrictions depending on where your specific situation is. But within that 180-day window, you can absolutely start from zero and get to commercial pilot. Because when we put you on a SkillBridge, you're doing this full-time. And that tag of commercial pilot is not airlines. That just means I can be paid to fly. Mm-hmm. And that's what's important.
And that's employment because you're getting paid. Now, you mentioned a thing up to commercial, and I will put a finger on it, and I will say we will shoot another episode later that talks about the coveted time build. It's a big hot topic, but we'll get to that in a different episode just because it's so long. I will say for this episode specifically, again, we're trying to educate our folks. We're going to put this on our resources tab on our website. So for education purposes, when we look at flight schools at large, right, I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to type in GI Bill benefits, and it's going to say part 141, so 141, and it's going to say part 61. And there's like a part 91, which is like maybe not in the same category. But what can you tell us about, just broadly about, hey, Adam, what should I look at the 141 or the part 61? Like, what are the pros and cons to both?
Yeah, so I'm going to take even one step back. Okay. So when you say part 141, part 61, that's part of the federal aviation regulations. So 141 and all those numbers really just mean that's the subsection within those federal aviation regulations. So you can find all these answers, and we're not going to dive into every single detail, but you can find these written, black and white in regulation. So, but with that being said, part 141 versus part 61. Part 141 really just means that the FAA has reviewed that curriculum and has decided that that flight school, whether that's a university or whether that's any other provider that's out there, has had their curriculum reviewed by the FAA. The hour requirements and lessons requirements meet that standard, and that's the standard that a student needs to meet to pass that program.
Okay, and is that what are some common 141 partners, if you can think of some, just so give people an idea of if they see this school, then that is very likely a 141 program.
Yeah, so pretty much all university programs are Part 141. That's obviously not an absolute, but you'll see most university programs are Part 141 because they have that curriculum set in stone. They have a full-time staff and things like that students can go to and regularly complete all those steps required. So that's definitely one that's pretty common that's out there. Larger providers that are out there as well may be able to do both. They may be able to do Part 141 and Part 61. We have multiple partners in Texas and Florida and Mississippi and things like that where they have large fleets. They have a lot of CFIs, certified flight instructors, to provide that full-time curriculum-based teaching. Plenty of providers that are out there for us that do that.
That's really good. And then quickly, we're going to do, again, to put a finger on it, we're going to do another episode later about funding, right? So GI Bill, we get questions about VOC rehab, WIOA, cool funds, should I take out a loan? What does that look like? But is there just kind of macro wise, is there kind of a general rule of thumb? If I'm looking to pursue a 141 or a Part 61, how will my GI Bill go further? And what's the time requirement? Like, do I have to be full-time? Could it be part-time? Like, what do you think?
No, absolutely. So there's definitely a lot that goes into that question first and foremost. But our counselors would love to have that conversation with you and talk about it. Part 141 is more generally accepted in regards to your GI Bill and funding because it has been vetted. It's been vetted by the FAA. It's been vetted by all these things. It doesn't necessarily mean that the GI Bill will cover a Part 141 school. It's just more likely that it can be covered by the GI Bill. You mentioned vocational, and there's private university funds and public university funds. But just to highlight the difference kind of between Part 61 and Part 141 in regards to funding, you can self-fund for either of those. The GI Bill, again, generally, there's a few nuances here, but will only cover Part 141. If you're going to do it vocationally, which just means you're going to use a certain subset of your GI Bill, those funds generally we don't see go as far as something that's regimented and accompanied by a degree-producing program.
Perfect. I appreciate that. This episode wasn't designed to give you all of the nitty-gritty specific details. We were trying to almost establish terminology. Yeah. So when you talk with your counselor and you ask about a flight school and we talk about 141 or Part 61, we want to introduce those terms to ask the right questions, right? Can I go faster with a Part 61? Yep, maybe, probably, who knows? Is it going to cost me more? It depends, but maybe, yeah. Okay, well, I want the GI Bill to go further, but it's slower. Okay, that might be 141. Those are questions you should talk with your counselors about. The funding piece, the GI Bill, all of that stuff. And that's what this is about. So thanks for sharing. Again, we know that there's a lot of things we didn't talk about, but that was done on purpose. We want you to engage your counselor because everything is so niche, so specific to the person. Adam said that answer has lots of layers and factors, and he's right, which is why we're intentionally not talking specifically about the full package. We're just kind of briefing terms, if you will. So what else can you help us out
just
with?
Want to add a couple of things here. On a SkillBridge, a DoD SkillBridge, it's not required that you do a Part 141 or a Part 61. So just want to highlight that. You can do either one. And because, specifically a SkillBridge does not come with funding, that's why you can kind of choose which avenue you want to do. So we have partners that do both Part 141 and Part 61. We have some that only do Part 141 and some that only do Part 61. So, really, again, the biggest takeaway I would say to differentiate between the two is, I have a defined curriculum versus I have a CFI that's teaching me, and then I still have to, either way, you still have to meet the same requirements.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're going to get to the same goal. It's just whether or not it's, curriculum-based step by step or whether I'm working a little bit more one-on-one with my CFI. And that's part 61. Is a little more one-on-one.
Good. And we'll post a PowerPoint that has a lot of these bullet points on there. One thing that I would say is you can go on our website and look at all of our flight school partners, but the counselors, our team is trained to figure out where you are and where you want to go to figure out what solution would be the best for you. We don't have, I would say, loyalties to any particular company. They're all great and amazing, but if sending you maybe out of state to get it better accomplishes your goals than sending you in state, then we're going to recommend that as a counseling team. So in terms of shopping, if you will, like you can, but use those counselors, use Adam's counselors, use the team, because we're good at it and we want to give you the best solution custom to you. So yeah, thanks for sharing the info. I think we covered a lot. Again, we'll shoot more episodes later, but hopefully that helped, guys.
Yeah.
See you later.